How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you so much for tuning in to this video. My name is TJ, if you don't already know me. And today I'll be giving you guys an intimate look into the condition that I have lived with since birth, called Moebius syndrome. Now, you may have seen my past videos on this, but in case you haven't, I like to always start from the beginning. So what is Moebius syndrome? Well, it's a neurological disorder that is caused by the 6th and 7th cranial nerves being underdeveloped. Now, that's only one element of Moebius. Some people with Moebius syndrome have missing limbs, missing toes, fingers. They have severe issues with breathing. They have other physical factors that impact their day-to-day living. In my case, the main physical things that impact me with Moebius syndrome are the fact that I can't move my eyes side to side because, again, the 6th and 7th cranial nerves impact lateral eye movement and facial expression. So I can't move my eyes side to side. When I blink, you probably can't tell on camera, but I can't really blink all the way, meaning my eyelids don't completely close. So, especially when I was younger, I had issues with severely dry eyes. Not so much as an adult I have, but of course, without being able to have facial expressions, I can't move my eyebrows, I can't wiggle my nose. The big one, which is also the title of my upcoming book, is I can't smile. So I had always said that my mother actually used to say when I was younger, I smile with my eyes because I convey emotion with my eyes and my body language and my vocal tone. So the other ways that Moebius impacts me, besides the inability to move my eyes side to side, not being able to move my face, as you can hear, I had I would say a mild speech impediment because of the fact that I can't move my tongue completely. My tongue is partially paralyzed. And that's actually been a common question that I got over the years is, what else causes that speech impediment? And it's really just that. It's just because my tongue is not able to move. I can't stick it out. Most people can stick their tongue out at least somewhat. I can't do that. Now, because of that partial tongue paralysis, that also causes eating hazard when it comes to eating and drinking and chewing, because I also have dental issues. That's another factor that a lot of people with Moebius have, dental abnormalities, issues, because of the fact that their mouths can be abnormally small in some cases. I know, believe it or not, I actually have a small mouth, although I've been accused of having a big mouth, but I actually have technically a smaller than normal mouth. Imagine that. So, it's like a laundry list of things that you could say physically. It impacts me daily. Besides just my face and my tongue being partially paralyzed and, side to side, I also have a critical airway. As you can probably see right here, I don't like to usually show this, but, these videos are supposed to be informative, so I have to be transparent. I do have my trichotomy star, is that how you call it? Trichotomy star, I guess it is. I'm not the medical person of the family, that's my mother, so she could probably tell you a lot more than I can about my own star here. But long story short, when I was a toddler, I couldn't breathe properly. From what I understand, from how the story goes, and what my mother explained to me, and my doctors explained to me over the years, was that I couldn't breathe on my own normally. And so at a certain age, I want to say I was maybe 2 or 3, I think maybe 3, they had to install a trach in me, so it helped me breathe. And eventually I got it taken out a couple of years later, I think. Before I was 5, I'm pretty sure I had that out. And it helped, and eventually, I guess I just developed properly, and I was able to read on my own. But I remember my mother saying, and I do touch on this on my upcoming book as well, that my mother used to tell me stories about how it was so scary because I used to stop reading. We would be in the car on the highway, and I would stop reading. And my mother, God bless her, she had to stop the car, pull over, jump out, and make sure she could bring me back to life. It's pretty amazing, and it really is. I don't give enough credit to her in these videos, but really, my mother was not only my biggest advocate in my later years, growing up in school and after school even, but just in general. She really believed in me succeeding at the most basic level of survival. She was dedicated to me staying alive as a baby, and I was very blessed for that reason. And I had a great team of nurses around the clock as a toddler, because again, the symptoms, the physical symptoms of Moebius syndrome as a toddler were quite severe. And again, obviously, I wouldn't remember any of it. I remember what my mother tells me, and it's hard to think of everything on demand in this video. But all I can do is just assure you, it'll all be in my book as well, but also just what I can think of right now is I just remember how my mom has continuously said it didn't look good for me as a toddler, especially as an actual baby. The doctors did not have confidence that I would even survive. If I did survive, they thought I could be a vegetable. They just didn't know, because at the time, Moebius syndrome, again, we're talking 1990, that's the year I was born. Moebius syndrome, especially here in upstate New York, was not very, it wasn't that heard of around here. So the doctors really didn't know. So I really wasn't diagnosed at first. So it's really incredible to hear my mom tell that story of just how they kept me alive. And fortunately, here I am today. I survived, mostly. There's definitely been some hiccups along the way. Almost died a couple times of my allergy to peanuts, but besides that, here I am in the flesh. And despite the obstacles in life, I like to say that I have persevered, at least at the most basic level of survival. Now, with that being said, it's easy to say, like I said earlier, it's, A, B, C, D, this is how Moebius syndrome impacts me daily. And I can talk about, like I said, a list of things that Moebius syndrome impacts me physically. I have arthritis in my hands and feet. I get occasional pain. I get, not occasional pain, some days actually quite really bad pain in my feet. But luckily I can buy special shoes that are rather expensive, but they help. And my hands, you can kind of see I have some abnormalities in the way that my left arm kind of developed, and so I have to be conscious when I'm walking or just interacting in public, just to try to stay looking somewhat, not to say that I care about looking normal, because that's not really how I think, but I try to remember to keep my hand somewhat straight like that. But you can just see in my hands, I can't do finger movements in the same way. And that's another way that is extremely frustrating with this condition, is hand coordination. And the one way that really has impacted me was the career that I really was dead set for years into going into was IT. And this led to the eventual demise of my plan of going into IT. Was in any IT program, at least that I know of, especially around here at the community college level, you have to be able to complete at least 1 or 2 classes of hardware development, taking apart computers. And it was never intellectual based that I had a hard time with. I know all the components of a system. But when it came to physically doing it, my anxiety went through the roof because I knew physically I was going to have a hard time. And I'm not one to place blame on others because of my condition. That's not how I am. I'm not saying I was discriminated against, but my instructor was very realistic. And there was nothing in place that allowed me special timing or extra time because I had a condition. I had to be able to put the computers together in the time that was required of me using the tools that are available. I was allowed to have, to be fair, I was allowed to have a lab assistant, but it was a very strict, convoluted guideline as to what I was allowed this assistant to actually do. So in conclusion, I know I'm going way off into a tangent, but that's just one example of how this condition really impacted my ability to get something done in terms of the one element of my career that I wanted to go into. Now, I didn't give up. I'm still an independent IT, I guess you could say IT specialist. I hate to call it that. But I do IT services, basically. But when it comes to hardware, I either try to avoid doing jobs that require intensive hardware work, or I will, I guess you could say, outsource it to another friend of mine who will do the physical, hands-on, actual, using the tools in the small space to get the components right, to tie the wires, whatever it might be doing, and I'll be there basically guiding him verbally. So that's that. But there's many examples as how this condition has impacted me that way. But, you know, there are all these ways that you could say, oh, it impacted me physically. The one thing, and I know I speak for all of my Moebius syndrome friends in the Moebius syndrome groups. I'm not saying literally every single person, but I have personally had over a dozen conversations with people in the Moebius syndrome groups on Facebook about the same topic, and they all feel the same way. And this is the topic of social normalcy. And, you know, if you look up Moebius syndrome right now on Wikipedia, I just noticed this before I did this video, it kind of paints a very rosy, I don't know who wrote the article about it on Wikipedia, it wasn't certainly not me, but they wrote a very peachy, optimistic tone of people and how they can interact socially. And I believe the exact wording was, it does not prevent people with Moebius syndrome from having personal and professional success. And that much is true. That I don't disagree with. But, you know, it does impact people in such a way emotionally. And that's really the highlight that I want everyone to take away of my videos, is that people with Moebius syndrome are usually not affected intellectually at all. That's just a fact. Moebius syndrome is not something that affects intelligence whatsoever. And that can be both a blessing and a cruel, cruel reality. Because, and I'm speaking from the heart here, you know, I would love to sit here and always take on this optimistic tone and always, you know, sunshine and roses, but that's not the reality of this condition. Now, that's not to say that it's always doom and gloom and life is darkness, there's no light, there's no happiness. No, of course not. Let's be real. That's not what I'm saying. But the reality is, having a condition that you can't control, that impacts how you look and you sound, and you're constantly under that false judgment of you might be disabled in a way that you're not intellectually because of how you look or sound, it's a very disheartening reality. And it's one that it has taken me a lifetime, really, to accept. And I accept it now. But while I do accept it, what is a little bit more difficult to accept is the part of it that this may be the ultimate obstacle that I can't get past. I've gotten past most obstacles besides driving. That I didn't get past yet in my life, but everything else, I have crossed many barriers that honestly I didn't even think I would cross. I mean, I was successful in my life in terms of I live on my own. I have my own nice 2-bedroom apartment now. I have become totally independent, which is something that honestly some doctors wondered if I would ever become when I was younger, of course, and that happened. But the one thing that I now require is, not require, that I wonder, I should say, is will I cross the one roadblock of finding true happiness with somebody else? Because as I have said in my past videos, something really hit me like a I don't know, like a brick almost. Like after this pandemic, or I guess during this pandemic, when it first began, I started to feel differently about living alone and enjoying my solitude, which I certainly do. You know, I don't think I'll ever change. I am the type that likes my solitude, my space to do my own thing, play my video games, do my writing, you know, whatever I might be working on. I don't think I'll ever be somebody that wants that constant clinginess of something, of someone else. But it has crossed my mind that I think I would like to share my life with somebody. And what I hope is that maybe the opportunity presents itself that I will eventually meet somebody that I'm attracted to and they are legitimately attracted to me. And I've learned a lot about attraction and relationships. That's a common thing too. And I'll tell you, people sometimes fall over. Like they go, "What? You actually have relationships?" And I said, "I know, believe it or not, some women actually did see something in me." And it's true. You know, I've had a couple times in my life where I was so close. I thought I found a real relationship, or at least an opportunity that could develop into a relationship. And it didn't turn out. It didn't turn out that way. But I don't regret the experiences. Without going into too much intimate details or personal details in a video, but in 2017, I met through somebody that lived in my apartment building at the time. A nice girl. Her grandmother lived in the apartment building, and we had a great connection. And I don't regret the time we spent together at all. I had wonderful experiences and memories. And for the first time, I think I got a real taste of what happiness can be like in normalcy. In terms of normalcy as in a relationship. And we weren't officially exclusive. We weren't dating. I don't claim that at all. But we had moments that felt like it could be something like a real connection. And while it didn't ultimately pan out, it just didn't. And she went a different direction. And in hindsight, I can't be upset because it was still wonderful memories. And again, it goes back to I was so close. It's like, man, I kind of feel like Hillary Clinton getting so close, but twice and no cigar. But no, I'm just kidding. I always bring a political humor into it. But no, and another time I had another, not as close as that, but I had another woman that I started hanging out with a little bit. And the same thing, we had a great connection, but sadly, it just didn't happen. Again, it went in a different direction. And that's okay. Because again, I learned a lot. And what I learned from these experiences, from one, is there's a big difference between real attraction and someone that, and I'm not saying this for the girl from 2017 who her grandmother lived in my building, not this case, a different case for the woman. It was probably a little more just me buying things on Amazon, gifts, and it was a mutual thing of, oh, I'll give you a little attention if you give me what I want. Which I also don't see anything wrong with that. Did I hope it would be something a little bit better? Yes. Did it turn out that way? No. But that's okay. Again, I learned, as somebody with a medical condition who has to try a little bit harder in life than maybe some other guys do, I have learned that you can't buy affection, you can't buy attention. No matter how hard it might seem that you can, you can't. So, what I have learned and all that, I'm getting a little bit off subject, but what I have learned from these experiences is that, for one, life is what you make it. Life is what you make it in a positive or negative way. If you wake up every day being miserable, let's say you have a bad day, and that one bad day turns into 2 bad days, 3 bad days, and so on, that no longer just becomes a bad day. You are in a bad place mentally. And you can't always dig yourself out. Trust me, I know. During the pandemic, I've been there, done that. But I always kept my mind on one concept, and that is I don't want to go down a path that is too dark, where I'm always miserable, because every day is a new chance and a new possibility, I should say, of something good happening. That's the outlook I like to have. So, you know, when it came to living with Moebius syndrome, I guess when it comes to living with Moebius syndrome, I'm not going to say that every day I'm waking up going, woo, you know, it's a great day to be alive. No. Sometimes I do look in the mirror and I go, oh, I don't like the reflection I'm looking at. But then, I also remember that this is the life I am given. This is the reality that we are living in, that I'm living in. So I can be miserable, or I can take the good or the bad. And, you know, I will strike some optimism here, and I'll say, I think it'll happen for me. I think I'll find true, pure happiness eventually. I don't know how. I don't know when. I don't know what the environment will be that happens, that I meet this person. But I have to have faith. And my one thing is, I can't be tempted to go back to the old ways of thinking, for me, which were, I can buy attention. I can find these women who are very wonderful looking, good, nice enough women that will hang out with me or whatever, give me that attention that I desire. But then, when it comes to the real topic of at the heart, in the heart, wanting to be loved in a genuine way, and not just, oh, the transaction's over, you got me something off Amazon, you're dead to me. You know, that's something that is sometimes fun, sometimes that is good enough. But I think as I hit the age of 30, especially after this pandemic, I have really desired something meaningful now. And that is where I hope to go from here to the next stage of my life, however that may be. You know, I am blessed with relatively good health. I could lose a few pounds, but besides that, I'm blessed with good health. And so I want to do that for myself. I want to go seek true happiness. And in the meantime, when I say happiness, I mean sharing my life with somebody else. But at the same time, learning, and I have accepted this, that you have to find true happiness with yourself too. You have to almost be in love with yourself. And that is not an instant overnight process. I can tell you that. And I think I feel a little bit closer to that when I feel like I look better. Like right now, I just got my hair done today. That's why I did this video today. I like myself being bald. I like how this look looks on me. And so I'm kind of, as they would say, I guess I'm kind of feeling myself in a sense, you know? So I'm kind of there. I can kind of be optimistic right now. And I guess that's the thing, is I hope that if anyone takes anything away from these videos, is that people with Moebius syndrome want the same experiences that everyone else wants. And some people with Moebius absolutely get that. I have friends with Moebius syndrome that are happily married or in relationships, and it's awesome. But others really spend a lifetime struggling to achieve that sense of normalcy, because it can be so difficult to break through that invisible wall. That's the last concept I'll leave this video with, is I had always felt like with me, there's an invisible barrier between myself and somebody else that I may be interested in terms of having a connection with. And sometimes there's been, like I mentioned earlier in the video, a couple of times where that barrier was broken. And I thought that we had achieved that sense of normalcy. And we did for a time. And that's awesome. There is no greater feeling. It was almost like a drug going through my veins when I felt like I was truly achieving that sense of relationship normalcy. Somebody really was giving me attention that wanted to give me attention, not just a transactional, hey, I'm going to buy you some stuff on Amazon, or whatever, you know, send you money on PayPal, whatever. And I don't want to talk about that as in like, oh, somebody took advantage of me. It's not like that. That's an entirely different discussion. But you get to a point where you do want something meaningful. Now again, some of these topics that I discussed in this video tonight are kind of first time talking about it. Some people might not believe some of these things I said tonight. But that's why I do these videos. To give you an intimate look into my life, living with this condition called Moebius syndrome. There is so much more to discuss. But I'm going to save that on my next edition of this video. Until then, I'm going to thank you so much for tuning in. Please look beyond face value. If I can just push that concept on everyone watching, then my job is accomplished. Please look beyond face value and give people a chance at, I'm not speaking in terms of relationships or anything, I'm just saying in general, look beyond face value and give that individual, whether it may be me or others, a chance to really hear and see them for who they are without trying to figure anything else out. I don't know if that makes any sense at all, but hopefully the concept is obvious. And with that being said, thank you so much for tuning in. It means so much to me, guys. And I will see you in my next video. Until then, have a great day, and peace out for now.